Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today I'm going to be talking about 10 different board games, but not the physical version. Today I'm talking about 10 different board game apps for your phone specifically that I would recommend. I'm not talking about any of the games that I'd play on computer or on Steam or whatever. These are specifically 10 apps on your phone that I would recommend for you. This isn't really a top 10 list because I wouldn't think I'm that qualified to make a top 10 for board game apps because I haven't played a ton of them. I've played between 20 to 30 of them probably. And because I never really played board game apps before this last year because of COVID, different reasons, people kept talking about them, so I decided to check them out. So I've been playing for about a year now, and I've actually really enjoyed quite a few of them. So yes, we're talking about 10 of them specifically for your phone that I would recommend. I might do a list later that's for Steam because I play quite a bit on Steam. The ones on my phone tend to be smaller type games, where the ones on Steam tend to be the bigger ones. I do have a couple bigger ones on the phone, but for the most part, they are small little games. So let's talk about them. And I didn't actually list them on favorites of how much I like them. I actually listed them how many times I've played them, with 10 being I've played them the least, 1 being I've played a ton of. Um, an embarrassing amount, probably. So let's go to my number 10, which would be Hive. Hive is this tile laying sort of game, and on the tiles they have different insects. And your goal of the game is to surround the opponent's their queen bee, with insects. And all these different insects, there's spiders, there's ants, there's uh, beetles, and all of them move in a different way. And you're just trying to, it's like a chess like game where you're trying to outmaneuver your opponent and trap their queen bee to win the game. And yes, Hive, great game. The app isn't anything amazing. It's just very simple, very straightforward. Gets you in the game fast and gets you to play the game so you can play it in a couple minutes flat. So let's go to my number 9. I'm going to be going through these pretty fast because these are just apps. Number 9 is Tsuro. I'm not exactly sure how to say it. Tsuro. Tsuro. This is this game where you have a marker and you put that marker on this board, and then you're going to be placing tiles, and these tiles have different like roadways on them, and you place that down, and then your marker has to follow that roadway, and you are trying to be the last marker that is left on the board. And the board is very limited space, so everybody else is laying these tiles down, and you put it down and you're trying to make your marker stay on the board the longest. This is a very zen like game to me that I quite enjoy. It looks really nice. They did a very nice job for the app, and I've played the actual physical game just a couple times probably, but I've played this app quite extensively, especially when I'm laying down at night, kind of trying to sleep. It's a very kind of no brain game, but very fun, very relaxing game. Let's go to number 8. Number 8 is a game probably everybody watching this video has played, maybe not the app version. That is Ticket to Ride. Don't have to talk too much about Ticket to Ride. This is just a tile, not a tile laying game, a rail. You're making railways across the United States or whatever version of Ticket to Ride you have. The app it's very straightforward, very easy to get into. Really like it quite a bit. And this is one of the few big box games on this list, but the app on your phone does a really good job of doing that. So, going to number 7. Number 7 is a game I probably almost talked about last week when I talked about my favorite 2-player only board games. This is Jaipur. Jaipur, like I said, 2-player only card game where you're going to be collecting sets, and you're going to be turning in these sets of different colored cards for different amounts. They're all worth a little bit different amounts of money. And the bigger of a set you get this extra marker, this extra point, basically, that's worth different varying amount of points. Really good 2-player game. Really good app. Very clean game. And you can play it very fast. You play 3 rounds or the best of 3 to determine if you won or not. Or if you're like me, I'll play 1 round just because I wanted to play it quick if I had a couple minutes to spare somewhere. Going to, oh, excuse my noise on my phone, my computer. Number 6. Number 6 is a cute little game. It's Hey, That's My Fish. And this is I really like this game actually. And in this game, you're going to be playing as these penguins that are laid out on these ice hexagon tiles, and on the tiles are printed different amounts of fish, anywhere from 1 to 3 fish. This stupid fly keeps going in here. There's 1 to 3 fish on those tiles, and when you move your penguin to another tile, which they just move in a straight line, you take the tile that it was standing on. So these ice keeps melting, and you are trying to be you're trying to knock your opponents almost in the water by trapping them off in a certain way. Really good game, very fast, very good. Number 5. Number 5 is the biggest game on this list, and this is a game I've talked about quite extensively on this channel, actually. This is Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep is a very simple worker placement, resource management game where you're going to be collecting these resources, which are your people or warriors, whatever, and you're going to be using them to send them out on completing quests. And in this board game, I usually, like I said, I don't like the bigger games on my phone because it feels like they're squished in there and I have a trouble time seeing everything. This game does a really good job of managing that. And even I have both of the expansions for this, the 2 little mini expansions, which are like something like $2 or $4. So if you do get Lords of Waterdeep app, I recommend buying the extra expansions because it adds quite a bit to your game. It changes the game quite extensively. So moving on to my number 4. Number 4 would be Onitama. Onitama is the game I actually talked about a couple days ago for my 2-player only games. And this is a chess kind of like game where you're going to be having pawns on your side of the board, trying to capture your opponent's pawn. And how you move your pawns is these cards that have these movement cards, and they tell you how you can move your pawns. And once you use a movement card, it goes to the middle, and you take whatever middle card was there before, so they kind of replace your old one. So you're constantly swapping out these cards, and you can see what your opponent can move, where they can move, how they can move. And it's just it's chess. It's a chess-like game that I really, really enjoy. And this is a great app to do it as well if you can't find someone to play it. So that's my number 4, Onitama. Moving on to number 3 is Hex Roller. Hex Roller is this roll and write game where you have this honeycomb style of board, or pad I should say, that you're trying to fill out, and you're going to be rolling these dice, and then you're going to be taking some of the dice of the same numbers and filling out your honeycombs that way. And there's a couple different things that'll give you special abilities as well, and you're just trying to fill almost as much of the complete honeycomb as possible, because the honeycomb is made out of several little honeycombs. And yeah, just trying to fill out as many as you can. This is a game that I actually got rid of the physical copy because I thought the physical game was meh, but then I really enjoy the app version of it. It's one of those games that the app kind of hurt the game. Well, I shouldn't say hurt the game because I didn't really like the physical game, and then I play the app and I'm like, okay, yeah, I do like this game. And that goes for my number 2. Going on to my number 2 is a solo only game. This is Onirim. Onirim, like I said, solo only game that you're going to be laying out these cards in a certain pattern and trying to unlock doors. And once you unlock, I think it's like 8 different doors in the base game, you win the game. But there's a couple different things that will throw monkey wrenches in there. And yeah, a really good game, really good app. This is a game, I got rid of the physical game because I could not stand it. This is a game you constantly are shuffling. You shuffle, and then you shuffle, and then after a little bit you shuffle. So when I was playing the physical game, I probably was 3/4 of the time I was playing it, I was shuffling rather than playing the game. So I was like, this is a good game, but I'm not into this shuffle. This is shuffle the card game, basically. Well, the app takes care of the shuffling for you. So as soon as I found out there was an app, because I was watching Z Garcia, I think he mentioned it because he really likes the game. He mentioned the app, and I was like, oh, there's an app. And I played the app, and I'm like, yep, love it. I play this game. This game and my number one, I've played hundreds and hundreds of times because this is just a good time waster that I really enjoy. So that's my number two, Onirim. Going to my number one. My number one is actually a series of games, and this is the Clever series. You got Ganshan Clever, Twice as Clever, and Clever Cubed is the last one that came out. And this is another roll and write game where you're going to be rolling these dice and then drafting these dice to put into your grid of paper. And the paper is made out of like five different sections of dice, and they're all different colors representing the different colors of dice that you are rolling. So when you take the purple dice, you draft that dice, it has to go in that purple section, and all of these different sections, they score a different way. They can only be put in there a certain way. So it's a really interesting mechanic, and they've done 3 different games, and all 3 of them, they feel the same game, but just with slightly different rules for the dice. Really good set of games that I really enjoy, that I don't play the physical game much because there's this app version. And probably the original one, Ganshan Clever, or That's Pretty Clever, I think it's called in English, is a game I've played. It's probably close to 1,000 times because I've played it so many times. I play it usually at least once a day, sometime throughout my day. Just a really good, fast game that I quite enjoy, and I would recommend for all of you. And all of these games I would recommend for people, because that is my entire list, my 10 board games for the phone that I would recommend for you guys. So that will adjourn this meeting. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. I hope you all have an amazing day, and take care, everyone.